Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to continue to dive in and talk about what is the best rifle caliber cartridge ever. Now you might be thinking, didn't you already do a video series on that? Which I did, and I talked about my scale was 25% hunting, and it had to be between coyote and elk sized game. Then 50% was efficiency, which is where I put the most emphasis on, and then 25% on long range shooting. And in that scale, with those animals in mind and the overall picture of efficiency focused on, the 7mm Odd 8 was what I considered the best all-around rifle cartridge for those parameters. I stand by that, and I even gave an example of the Ruger American in 1 in 8.5 inch twist rate, which I think would be great for the slightly heavier bullets. And I even talked about the Miopta Optica 6 scope, which actually costs more than that gun, but would be an awesome European scope quality scope for a reasonable price. So I've kind of already treaded over this ground. I don't mean to rehash it, but I still stand by that, but I'm still always thinking about what's the best. What is the best? What's my personal favorite? And the top 5 or 6 of that particular ending that I had there, those finalists, any of them could have worked. They were just awesome. You know, had I changed the scale where 50% was hunting and then 25% efficiency or whatever, something like a 270, a 30-06, a 7 mag would have probably been higher up the list. You know, if long range competition would have been 50% of that scale, man, some of these more obscure cartridges that work so well in the long range competition circuit would have had a little bit of a bump. So depending on how you think about it, it could have turned out totally differently. But for the things I focus on the most, for the animals I hunted the most, that was what I ended up picking. And like I said, I stand by that. But there's still more to talk about. There's still more to be said. So I'm just going to talk about a few quick topics here that I've been thinking about recently. I'll just start out with the 6.5 Creedmoor. You know, I've never been a person to jump on a bandwagon. I've never been a person to immediately adopt the newest, latest trend or fad. The newest, latest fad. Never been that person to adopt that. And I'm the same way with the Creedmoor. I think it's overhyped, and people have just it's become so popular that its greatness has been exaggerated. I worked with a guy who just not too long ago, and this is a smart guy. He wasn't ignorant, but in this particular statement that he made, it was an ignorant statement. But we were talking about guns just for a split second. He said, "You know that 6.5 Creedmoor? It's like the flattest shooting round ever." And in the nicest way I could possibly say it, I said, "No, no, it's not. It's not even close." I said, "The 22-250 is going to be way more flatter shooting than it." But there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of just exaggerated things about the 6.5 Creedmoor. It's like, and you watch YouTube videos and it kind of goes like this. "Hey, I bought a new rifle." "Oh, cool. Do you like the 6.5 Creedmoor?" 6.5 Creedmoor. I didn't say I bought a 6.5 Creedmoor. "You said you got a new rifle, a modern rifle, I'm assuming, a brand new one. You didn't get it in the 6.5 Creedmoor?" 6.5 Creedmoor? "No. You know there's more calibers than just the 6.5 Creedmoor." "Oh, right, yeah, so you got a 308. No, I didn't get a 308. "Oh, you got an AR, 223, 5.56. Gotta love it." No, I got a 280 Ackley improved." "What? Why would you get that instead of a 6.5 Creedmoor?" So conversations like that happen. It's just like, if it's not the 6.5 Creedmoor, why are you talking about it? Why are you wasting your time? No one wants to hear about anything but the 6.5 Creedmoor. It gets pretty old pretty quick, which is why it's a very polarizing topic in the gun world. Either you hate it or you love it. Any video that you watch where they're explaining why it's so great, they always compare it to the 308. Like, those are the only two calibers that's ever existed. Like, well, you know how the 308 is awesome and everyone loves it. It's popular. It has been for years. Well, the Creedmoor is better, and here's where it's better. And the points that they make are legitimate, you know. But it's just like people always are just about the latest, greatest, and they just can't. If something's not brand new, then it's worthless. It's not worth talking about. I've never been that way. I don't understand that. So I will say, I'm the complete opposite. I love cartridges like the 30-06, which is, good grief, what is that? 115 years old. Okay? So I am not that person to jump on a bandwagon. But I will say that the Creedmoor is awesome. The Creedmoor, I think, is a really cool round. The design is so cool. For many years, I've looked at catalogs, or I've went to websites and I've looked through a particular manufacturer's list of calibers that they offer, and I'm usually upset because they only offer like 5, the same 5, and I wish they would do more. But within those calibers that they offer, it's usually in a twist rate that sucks. It's in a twist rate that's really slow, and I always think to myself, why don't you speed that up? Why don't you have it in a faster twist rate so you can shoot the heavier bullets that are more ballistically coefficient? And I always get disappointed. And everything about the 6.5 Creedmoor, from the beginning of its design and its engineering, was they thought about long range shooting, and I think that's cool. They wanted it to be efficient, short, non-tapered case, kind of like you think of an Ackley improved case, how they take a tapered case and they kind of make it straighter, and then they take these long shoulders and they make them flatter. That just improves or gives you more case capacity, and it just adds to the effectiveness of the bullet. So they have that kind of a design, a short, fatter design that's more modern, and to get as much space as possible. But they shorten the case a little bit more, giving up some case capacity overall, but like I said, with a modern design, to make room for that 140 plus grain bullet. And I think it's really cool that it was designed with that in mind. Because the best thing about a 6.5 Creedmoor, besides the original design behind it, was also just the 140 grain bullet. And that's not proprietary for the 6.5 Creedmoor. That's been around forever. Any 6.5 gun, as long as it has a good enough twist rate, a fast enough twist rate, can shoot the 165 grain bullet. So when you hear about the high BC, the high sectional density of the Creedmoor, it's got nothing to do with the Creedmoor. It's got to do with that 140 or 143 grain bullet in the 6.5 caliber. So it's the bullet that's been great for years. I have a 6.5 284, and I was reading about this 20 years ago on how awesome that particular caliber and that particular weight bullet could be. And that was based off of 100 plus years of the 6.5 by 55 Swede being used in Europe to hunt all kinds of animals. So the Creedmoor hype is a little overblown. The bullet is what really makes it so awesome. But that bullet's been around for 100 plus years. But the design of the Creedmoor from the beginning was to use that awesome bullet, which is cool. So they made sure that even though the overall length was going to be decent, they shortened the case enough to make room for that long bullet, but not having the bullet. So here's a 308. This bullet is probably about this long. And if you made this bullet heavier, it's not going to get wider because it's that particular diameter of the caliber. So the heavier bullets are just going to get longer. Well, they're not going to fit into a magazine. They're not going to fit into the chamber properly. So you're just going to have to seat the bullet deeper, 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 deeper in there if you want the heavier bullets. So they made sure that the design of the Creedmoor could have that bullet have plenty of room. So if you look at a Creedmoor, it's got this long bullet sticking out of the case, and that was perfect for long range. It's perfect for that 140 grain bolt that has high sectional density, has high ballistic coefficient. And they made sure every rifle was chambered, was given a twist rate of at least 1.8. So from the beginning, 1.8. When I had my custom 6.5 284 built a long time ago, the manufacturer that I contacted about the new barrel just wanted to give me a 1 in 9, and I said no, 1 in 8, and it took longer. I mean, they could do it, but they had a bunch of 1 in 9s ready to go, and they had to specifically make my 1 in 8. So even back then, it was a ordeal to get people to get the faster twist rate, to make the faster twist rate. But from the beginning, the Creedmoor had the faster twist rate, had the efficient design as far as the case, used that awesome bullet that had been around forever. And so you put all that together, and it's an awesome design. It's really thought out and designed well. And where it really shines to me, even though it was designed for long-range competition, it's cool for hunting. But it's not that flat a shooting. It's not even, the performance is not even that amazing as if you're looking at how flat it is, if you're looking at extreme velocities, high energy. No, not at all. It would be beat by the 7mm Odd 8. It would be destroyed by the 270 Winchester. It'd be annihilated by the 7mm Remington Magnum. So no, it's not that flat. It's not that fast. It's not that powerful. It's efficient, and it's meant to be accurate. The whole thing is, every part of it is inherently accurate because of the design, not only of the cartridge, but of the type of rifles it would go in, has been accuracy from the beginning. So that is cool. So as long as you're understanding what the Creedmoor is, if you think it's the be-all, end-all, the greatest, flattest, most powerful round of all time, it's not at all. And my uncle, he doesn't really care much for it. He said, look, it's worse than the 6.5 by 55 Sweet. It's worse than the 260, and it's definitely worse than the 6.5 284. And he's right. If you're talking about the performance and how much power it has, how much energy, how much speed, it is worse. But that's not what it's meant to do. So if you're just going to focus on what it's actually meant to do, it's pretty cool. It's light recoiling. Now, if you want a really light recoiling round, just get a 243. It's not like it's not the lightest, but it is pretty light recoiling. And, well, once again, everybody always compares it to the 308. It's like that's the only comparison it's ever made. Well, of course, it's more efficient. It's flatter shooting. It's way better. Okay. But the Creedmoor, I think, is awesome. I think the Creedmoor is a really cool round. I'm kind of wanting to get one now. Always on the tail end of a trend. Like the last person that jumps on board of a trend, usually as it's fading away and nobody cares about it anymore. But I'm liking the 6.5 Creedmoor an awful lot. But I understand what it is. I see where it fails. I see where it's not what it's hyped up to be. But for what it is, it's pretty cool. It would be a great whitetail deer round. Is it better than the other myriad of awesome whitetail deer rounds that have been around for 75, 100 years? No. But it would be pretty cool. It would shoot an awesome 140 grain 6.5 caliber bullet. That bullet is awesome. And every gun you get, no matter how cheap, is going to be basically designed for it with, as much space as needed to have that big bullet in there and the fastest twist rate to shoot the heavier bullets. It's just designed properly. So I'm a big fan of the 6.5 Creedmoor. Is it better than the 7mm Odd 8? Depending on who you ask. So I just wanted to touch on the 6.5 Creedmoor, the pros and cons of it, It's actually a really cool caliber, but it's not what it's hyped up to be. And if you accept it for what it is, it's awesome. If you're expecting it to be something it's not, you're going to be disappointed.